Good morning.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 307 RPG podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Nolan.
Nolan, it was good to see you yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a while and it was nice to do some disc golf.
It really was. And give me just a second here. Ramble on for a minute, would you?
I can do my best. Yeah, finally had a nice weekend. Every time we've tried to go disc golfing in the past, it's
Now recording.
There we go. I hear him.
Yeah,
Every time we try and go, it ends up snowing, and yesterday was nice. So
it really was. And I know we talk about this quite a bit on the show that you and I work together at the dealership, and I think I don't know that people understand that you and I were friends before we started working together. I came to work at the dealership with you. I worked there for 3 years. Got used to seeing you just about every day. Sometimes it was every day, and we were always talking, always communicating. And you have to understand, folks, that Noel and I are the kind of friends that we can be in the same building together, but not be like right next to each other, talking, gabbing at each other all day long. We both have our jobs to do. We both have our lives. We stay busy. However, we were still close enough that if we did need to tell each other something, we could. I think this last 2 weeks is probably the least amount of time I've talked to you in the last 6 years.
yeah, probably correct.
And it's been weird. I've been very busy at work. I know you're busy at work, and like it's been nuts. And it was really good to see you and your family yesterday.
Yeah, you take for granted how often you run into people, and also just I don't know, coming off the tail end of COVID, finally having both shots and vaccinated, ready to have some normality. I'm ready for a game night or two.
Yeah, absolutely. How I know you and your wife have both gotten the second vaccine now. How are you guys doing?
Good. So far, anyway, no issues. So,
Good, good. The microchip took okay.
yep, plugged in and ready.
Awesome. So now you can just jack right into your laptop. You're good. It's all cyberpunk.
Yep. Yep, we're ready.
Perfect. Perfect. Good. So like I said, there's a lot going on for me right now. It obviously keeps my mind busy. I seem like every time I turn around, I get pulled in one way or another. So I have not had a chance to check out the new season of Diablo. What can you tell me?
It's actually pretty fun. The new follower system adds a nice area of gearing out some extra things, and then like extra abilities now that normally you had to wear can now go on your follower for solo stuff. So like Nemesis bracers you can put on your follower, and it emanates out the flavor of time, which was the double duration pylons or whatever it was, can go on them. And then there's a couple of set bonuses that go on them as well. I know there's like my guy has a sage set which increases I think it has like a 50% chance to double the amount of death's breaths that drop. So there's just a few of those little things. So you kind of get this little super guy or gal you get to gear out, and actually instead of having extra like slots in the cube, you kind of have them on them. So it really pushes up the solo play.
Very cool. I'm kind of excited, and I hadn't shared this with you because this just happened yesterday. So yesterday, for the first time in my life, I think I told you a while back that my son now has a better computer than I do. He bought a gaming laptop, and it just, well, frankly, beats the shit out of mine, right?
Nice.
Yeah, yesterday I got a better computer than him.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, our friend John had a gaming laptop that he frankly was never using. It is a Razer Blade 15, and he's like, you know what, man, I'm never using it. We agreed on a price. I went over and paid him some money yesterday. He's like, just take it. So I was setting it up last night while I was working on show notes. And I'm excited. I think I'm gonna throw Diablo on it, and that way I can play upstairs instead of sitting down in the office when the dog's freaking out. Um, it's a pretty slick system. So
Very cool. Yeah, it's so much nicer when you have a decent system
yeah,
to play games for sure.
yeah, and I mean, and my desktop's good. Don't get me wrong; it works wonderfully with Diablo and even World of Warcraft. In fact, I can play most games without a problem on it. But this laptop is just that much better. So I was actually going to ask you, aside from like the normal Blizzard games that we play, what would be a good game to play on a good gaming laptop?
I A lot of that stuff I think just depends on what you're into. Um, most of my stuff I cycle around MMOs because I like the story not ending. But it would also be a good time to, you know, check out some of the ones that you've dodged, in the past. I think Witcher, like the complete edition, is like $10 now, and it's Witcher 3 is kind of heralded as like the greatest RPG of all time. So there's some nice solo stuff out there. And it should push a system. I mean, it's really a pretty game. So
Well, cool. I will log in to see. I'm assuming that's on Steam, right?
yeah,
I'll have to check that out.
yeah. I think, like I said, I think I had it on PlayStation 4, and never get to play the PlayStation 4 because whenever I turn it on, everybody's around as far as children go. So I was cycling through, and it was down for like $9, $10 the other weekend. So I was like, wow. I haven't actually loaded it on the PC other than to look at the graphics, but yeah. So there you go. That depends on what you're in the mood for, but that's cheap right now.
I will take a look at that. I'm like I said, I'm really excited. I was really thrilled that John and I were able to come up to an agreement on a price that I felt was very reasonable, that he felt was reasonable. I mean, you and I are both we're both in sales, so we know how that goes. And I was really thrilled that he's like, yeah, go ahead and take it. I trust you. It's fine. So I'm, like I said, getting it all set up and really excited to be playing on it. And it'll also help because this, I'm also back in school, which seems to be something I can never get myself away from. And it has been very frustrating for me because I do my best work first thing in the morning. So like I'll get up in the morning, get ready for work, and then sit upstairs for 20, 30 minutes before I leave for work. And usually I'm doing stuff like before I'd be working on class stuff. Well, I can't do that right now because if I sit in my office and work on it, the dog throws a fit. He wakes up the entire house for some reason. And I don't know what it is. And I think it's just years of Aiden, because this used to be my youngest son's room. He would always close his door and never let any of the animals in here. Well, I think the dog is so used to not being allowed in this room that no matter how much I beg him to come in here with me, he will not come in this room.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm tired of listening to him throw a fit. So it's going to be nice to be able to sit upstairs during the week and work on class stuff and not have to worry about him throwing a fit. So that just means I can work faster through my shit.
There you go. Yep. Looks like $9.99 for 25 more hours. So it looked like it was an Easter event.
All right. Well, I better get that today then.
Yeah, don't dilly-dally.
No shit. All right. Well, let's jump into the news because there is a few things to talk about now. And just so everybody knows, we don't necessarily have a topic of the night. Like both of us have been incredibly busy, so we have not been able to connect and decide on a topic for this week. But we missed last week, and that was very much so my fault because for some reason I slept later than I've slept in years. And I woke up and I realized that I probably had 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get everything ready for the show and was absolutely not ready. So I text Nolan in a frantic, like, hey, I have nothing. I can throw something together quickly. And he's like, just chill out. We'll do it next week. It's fine. So we still don't have a topic this week because we've been very busy, but we do have a lot of stuff to cover. So hopefully you guys are okay with that. And we're going to jump right into Wizards of the Coast. Now, there's not a lot of news for Dungeons and Dragons. Not that I saw. Nolan, did you see anything that I missed?
Not for me. I did play the Magic Legends, and that's about it. But it's kind of in juncture with Wizards of the Coast.
Right, and I specifically set this topic for Wizards of the Coast because we are going to be talking about some Wizards stuff. So go ahead and tell us about Magic Legends. What are your thoughts on it so far?
Okay, so open beta out. Played it for about, I don't know, a little under a week, just from a standpoint of how much time is actually in the game. So I'm not necessarily an expert. Has some very interesting features of the game, and a lot of really terrible aspects, just from a standpoint of explaining what's happening. The paywall is pretty steep. I know that there's been a lot of complaints about it, so they are working on it. From a general standpoint, it is an action RPG from like a Diablo style game. You pick your base class, and that really just kind of controls basically how you attack. And then each class has a utility and a secondary attack. So I played a Geomancer, and Geomancer starts off as a pure red wizard, and so that's my starting deck. What I thought was interesting with them was they made it as a melee class. So my basic attack was punching, and it was like a 2-3 hit combo that's like a little cleave, and then it shoots up a little rock spike from the ground and does AoE damage. Whereas like the white, which I thought would be like a I don't know why I always assume white's going to be like a 1/1 soldier. It was very much probably the most ranged class, almost like a priest, and then has a bunch of like heals and damage area effects that kind of combo in the same thing. So it was a ranged class. Um, but then my in the game, my secondary is a leap, so kind of like I think a leap barbarian, that type of thing. And when you land, you do damage. And then it's also its other ability, its secondary, is like a rock shard type thing. It reaches up from the ground, pulls up a bunch of rocks from the ground, and just shoots it out in an AOE. And so that's the only thing that really changes between your classes is those three abilities. After that, it's whatever you build your deck with. And I believe you got 12 cards and you have so many creature points, you have so many sorceries, there are enchantments in the game, and you're on my bar 1 through 4 are those cards. So say I run into a fight and the cards are up and I have 2 summoning spells and damage over time spell. So I cast the 2 summoning spells, it eats the mana that I'm using. Those 2 cards disappear, and randomly out of my 12 cards in the deck, 2 new abilities pop up. So
I want to interrupt you real quick.
Yep.
You keep saying cards. Are these like traditional magic cards? Like, would you cast like lightning bolt?
I have not seen lightning bolt. I did see shock. There is like the
Okay.
generic, like one of my summoning spells was the goblins. So I summon up 3/1/1 goblins that run into a fight, and they don't have a ton of hit points. They just do a bunch, little damage, and they're just kind of like fodder. Uh, and so that was kind of an interesting thing. That's what I thought was the most fun in the game, is not knowing what ability I was going to have to hit in a fight. Uh, Getting criticals and stuff like that, like on the fire mage, some of the things were like, oh, it does 10 damage. If the thing is burning from a fire damage you've already cast, it takes 20 damage, or it's a critical hit. So you kind of got to set those up, but sometimes you wouldn't see those in a line. So I would save my ones that would, like, I would have an ability that does extra damage with crit and not cast that spell until I got around to having an actual burn spell, whether it was like molten armor or. So sometimes I would cast, I'd have 3 summoning spells. I'd cast my 3 summoning spells, and the next 3 cards I'd draw would be 3 summoning spells. And I don't have really anything to cast, because as soon as you'd cast the one, it worked like a legendary creature. You cast it, the angel comes down. Well, the next angel comes down, the old one goes away. So there were some times where just the RNG, like magic, with drawing the card, put you in a hairy situation where you had to kind of get creative with the fight. Um, but that made the combat fun. Like, that was my favorite part of not knowing what ability was going to come up, whether I could use it, whether it was going to be a wasted spell, whether I'd have to sit on it and try and get creative working through auto attacks and that kind of stuff. Um, the So as you play the game, all the cards are random dropped, which is kind of frustrating, just from a standpoint of, I know that there are people that, get lucky on cracking their first pack and pull the mythic green warden, and they've got an uber tank through the whole game that'll carry them when they draw that card. I've never even seen a mythic card. Uh, so that was one thing. Like, there is no avenue to get it other than just playing the game and finding world drops and picking up cards that way. The other thing on it was not a real gaudy equipment system. I think it was head, gloves, chest, a couple of rings, and boots was all it was. And those varied between common up to legendary, and they had the ability to, like, drops throughout the game, also let you level those things up. But say you got bracers of strength, and you go around and you're playing, another bracers of strength drop. Well, you pick them up and they go into the thing. So now you've got 2 of them. And with a little crafting materials, you take those 2, and that's how you level up the gear. So you need the gear to drop kind of again and again and again. And that's how they deal with some of that, as well as it goes, oh, well, it just goes into the crafting material. Now you can upgrade this piece. So if you have a mythic quality piece, you'd have to get it to drop several times for you to be able to really upgrade it to that point. But uh, the equipment that I had, like my helmet, I got a mythic quality helmet. That's my nicest piece in the game. And when I use a certain ability, it has a chance to spawn 8/1/1 skeleton things. And it's the helm of, like, Joss Voon or something like that, which is a guy that you fight on Benalia, which I thought was kind of, I don't know, it was fun going through the lore. The tutorial is about 2 hours, and you don't really know you're playing the tutorial. You just playing part of the story, but you don't actually get to like swap out cards and make 2-color decks or anything like that. But you hop into Zendikar, you're doing quests with Nissa and some of the merfolk, trying to figure out who's going around trying to corrupt what are the Herodrin, or not Herodrin, Hedron cubes. And then after that, it kind of opens up a little bit. I went and did the quest line for Gavany, and did some, you run into vampires and you run into the werewolves. Moved over to Benalia,
Cool.
dealing with the angels. So each area is pretty, it's nice seeing some of the faces. I think the planeswalker that helps you at the start is I can't remember his name, but he's the red blue wizard from Is It Planeswalker. I can't.
Jack Faden.
Yes. So so you see some of these names. I know that doing like enough dailies with Benalia area and Dominaria, you get a creature card that you summon in to add to your deck, and it's a Benelish Marshal, and it says all creatures that you control while this creature is active get +1/+1. So it works along the lines, the same style of the game. But you've got to play the game to get stuff. There is a cap on how much like gold you can have in a day. There's a cap on how much like mana cards you could get in a week. So they've really staggered that. So kind of like WoW, where it's like you can only get one mythic loot drop a week per boss or whatever. If you don't get it, you don't get it. So it really slowed that part of the game down. And then the pay to not win side of it, the pay to strangeness is like the crafting material. Say I haven't gotten any pieces to upgrade my spell. Well, I can go on the market and spend $3 and get enough pieces to level it up to a rank 6 or whatever. And then there's also packs in the game. And so right now there's monocolor classes for each, like Beast Warden for green, Geomancer for red. In the future, they're going to add multicolor classes. Well, what they did at opening is there's the Demir Assassin, which is a blue-black card, and he's really strong. And the only way to get him was to buy these packs, and it was like a 1 in 250 chance, and these packs are $3 a pop. And so there was originally no way to get the class unless you just gambled. And so it really was a big turnoff for a lot of people. A lot of people just didn't care about it because of the idea behind it. There is PvP, but it's more like dual systems, and it's not a big part of the game. It's not an open world PvP game. So really, I don't know. It's kind of like if I paid to have all ancient level items in Diablo 3, who really cares, right? I mean, unless you're like, living and breathing like leaderboards, which there aren't leaderboards. Like, I'm never going to see that you spent $50 on your character unless we joined in a group and you would just kill stuff faster and I'd get loot faster. So I don't know why, I don't know where the pay to win stuff comes with that there. But anyway, long story short, fun game, free to play. I spent $10 on a battle pass to see what that was about. And then I bought 3 packs to see what that was about. So they got $20 into the game, and I don't know. It was okay. Really fun to play. The combat was fun to play. I was able to pick up my controller as well, and just zip through that style as well. So that it worked really well on the PC and controller as far as controls. I didn't have any issues with it. I just don't know what the longevity of it is. I found myself having a harder and harder time to log in. I think my red mage is 28, 29 out of the level cap of 30 for it. Before then, you just basically farm to unlock the other classes. But after that, it's kind of, I don't know, you crank up the difficulty, and if you want to push, you can. I don't know. I didn't get very excited about that stuff. The combat was just fun for me. So,
Well, cool. It's not something I've checked out yet, but I've been so busy.
that happens.
Yeah, it really does. So I want to stick with the Magic theme here, and then we'll kind of circle back to D&D, because we do have some other WotC news that is Magic related. And Nolan, thank you for recapping that for us. I know there are some people who are interested in that game. Wizards of the Coast recently announced the suspension of Magic artist Jason Felix for plagiarism, which really kind of surprised me. Now, I've seen Wizards separate their agreement with artists for racist or other sexist or other hatred related stuff. This is I think, at least in my knowledge, I'm sure it's probably not the first time, but at least in my knowledge, this is the first time I've seen a Magic artist get suspended for plagiarism. Felix is the artist of for the alternate art version of the card Crux of Fate, soon to be released in the upcoming Strixhaven set. It would appear Now, I'm just going to say appear, although I'm pretty sure it's correct. It would appear the art for Nicol Bolas in that card is from a different artist. So it looks like the art of this notorious magic villain was directly copied from fan art done by artist Kit LaPena. LaPena had the art of Nicol Bolas posted to her DeviantArt site in 2016. She learned of the plagiarism while reading comments on her DeviantArt site. I've looked at both of the images. I don't see, I mean, if Felix is arguing with this, he has no leg to stand on. It is pretty damn obvious that this was a direct copy of that art. And I understand that sometimes artists copy each other, but usually it's like copying style, not directly copying the image, which I think is a shame. Like I said, I think the art is pretty obvious. I think it's a very obvious copying. I'm not going to say yes, he did it for sure, because again, I don't know 100% facts. I think it's pretty obvious that he did, but I, again, don't have all the facts. WotC did issue a statement, and read the statement here. It says, "It has come to our attention that the card Crux of Fate from the Strixhaven School of Mages Mystical Archive may overtly feature Magic the Gathering fan art, and the contracted artist did not receive permission for this incorporation. These actions do not reflect the values of Wizards, and as a result, we will be suspending future work with Jason Felix until we have been able to bring this matter to a successful conclusion." What are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's disappointing. I mean, they do look similar. So
Yeah, they look really similar. One might say pretty much exact copy of Nicol Bolas.
I don't know. I mean, what, he doesn't have full armor on one. The Ion Stone is different between the horns. I mean, really, the breastplate is very similar, but like you said, the art style is very similar, and I think that's the trigger.
Right.
So I could see being
Yeah.
inspired by that, like the softness of it and doing it. But yeah, even the mouth being open the way it is and stuff like that, there's a lot of similarities. But
Yeah, and I think that is unfortunate. I do have a link in the show notes for you guys to check out the artwork so you can judge for yourself. We are not going to sit here and say that Felix did it. I do think it looks like he did, but again, we're not judge, jury, and executioner here. We're just reporting the news. So that is my opinion on that one, and I guess enough said about that. But I do want to circle back to D&D, because there was, although not necessarily like gaming, like book related, there was something that was released that is, well, at least previewed, that is pretty cool. Because Wizards of the Coast did announce a new Tiamat model in conjunction with WizKids. Now, we all know WizKids has put out some amazing models. I would love to own the Beholder model, but I'm not going to pay the $800-900 for it. Nolan, have you seen the images of this thing?
the thing is huge.
Holy shit, is it big? It's got a 28-inch wingspan.
Yes.
My goodness.
16.8 by 28.9.
Yeah, and it's 14.6 inches tall. I mean, wow. You imagine that thing? Like, if that were to just like, if somebody were to say, okay, you come into this cave and this is what you see, and they drop that model on the board, I think I just drop my dice and walk the fuck away.
Yeah.
Geez. So it's 14.6 inches tall, 16.8 inches long with a 28-inch wingspan. Oh my God. The model will be on a clear circular base and will be available for sale in late September. And like all the amazingly large models that WizKids does, this one carries a hefty price tag of $399.99. Just oh, fuck it. You can read the full release here. Nolan, do you see a Tiamat figure in your future?
Not at all.
No, not at all. Not in my personal collection, nor do I want to see it on the board. Well, I might want to see it on the board, but not if I'm playing.
Yeah. Another one of those. I think the number one comment I saw on looking at it and stuff like that was, if I had fuck you money, I'd buy this. So that kind of summed it up, right? I mean, what do you do with it? It's not like, I don't know, you spend $300 on like an undead campaign and you get a bunch of models, like at least you're going to use it. Here it's like once in a lifetime encounter. Otherwise it's on the shelf if you ever, if you were ever going to do it. So
it I think about like because we've seen conversations before where like the Beatles and Grimm stuff that comes out, right? It's cool stuff. It looks neat, but it's got such a heavy price tag that it's not something that I am going to rush out and buy. Now, I know they have released less expensive items that still carries a price tag that is just, for your average gamer. Unless, you know what, maybe I should back up because we've always said I'm the old man of the group. And maybe gamers are different than that they were when I was growing up. Maybe we don't sit in our mom and dad's basements anymore because we can't afford our own place. And maybe we don't just hang out there and well, I know I wasn't always the smelly. Well, I was never the smelly one, but I feel like, I mean, have gamers changed that much, Nolan? Am I just that out of touch?
I doubt it. I think we live in. I was gonna say I think they probably live with their parents for different reasons, but it's usually like college debt and stuff like that. So
Sure. And it just strikes me
I mean,
who
here's the thing, right? If it didn't work, they would have quit doing it a long time ago. And just looking through their site, it's like,
right.
oh, legendary edition of Curse of Strahd. Sorry, we're sold out. You know, eh. So it must move. I mean, that must be the thing. And again, it might be one of those things of one of these days, if it's a campaign we really like, we sit down and we check it out and see if it's all it's cracked up to be. The big thing I
Right.
look at there as far as that goes is is it Dungeon Forge, Hero Forge? What's the tile makers, right? That have the most amazing things that if I had a lot of throwaway money, um, that would be a
Uh,
really addictive.
I hit my freaking Windows button instead of the talk button. Dwarven Forge. Dwarven
Yes.
Forge is the
Yeah.
company.
Like I think of the areas of like there I think there's some good value in building a lot of stuff and those are probably the areas that I would attack versus like a $400 one-time miniature. I would do $400 worth of dungeon tiles or along that lines. So again, they clearly sell out. Apparently the market is there for it. And again, maybe people are doing it as a table. You got 5 people playing, everybody throws in a little bit of money. It's probably the cost of going to the movies.
So I think, that came up before in our group where we talked about, do we go all in on a Beatles and Grimm set and then play it like Dragon Heist or something like that? I can't remember exactly which one it was. Um, and I remember my thought process is okay, so after we finish playing, everybody's invested 80, 90, $100 because some of those Dragon Heists or some of those Beatles and Grimm sets are like $500-600. What happens when it's over? What happens when it's done? Are we gonna take turns sharing custody of the item? Does it stay with your DM? Does it stay with the person who ordered it? I mean, where do you go from there? And that's kind of my
Right.
issue. Like with and I get it. There's some groups who are all in on table sharing the cost of the stuff. There's I have issue with it, and it's just obviously it's a personal thing. So
I see. Yep. Understood.
now, like the Curse of Strahd revamped, considerably less price tag than this. You did pick it up, and we are super excited. I know you and I've talked quite a bit about being very selective about the people that we're going to be including in that game. Um, so that is something that I know we have on the horizon that we want to get involved in. I really think we should be, well, depending on when Tolos comes in, we should be looking at Curse of Strahd for this fall. I'd love to start it around Halloween.
Yeah, and I think it's just again one of those things of it just depends on how long you're going to be there for value, right? I mean,
Right.
if we were going to sit down and you're going to spend $500 on a campaign and it turns into campaign 1 season critical role and you're doing it for 2.5 years, I think you got your money's worth. But if you're the type of person that we rarely finish a book, let alone do a campaign, so I can understand the value not being there because life happens, stuff falls apart, seasons change, COVID hits, like you don't get through it, so I think it just depends on
Right.
your table. If you got a group of people who are saying we're going to play this to the finish, and it's not about the finish, we really want to just be in Strahd for the next 2 years, then yeah, throw the money down.
Sure. No, yeah, absolutely. So anyway, I wanted to share that there is a picture, there is a link to the art of the picture of this model. It is a pretty impressive looking model. WizKids is really, I tell you, I remember WizKids when they were just putting out some models before years and years ago, and they were just okay. Like some of their hero clicks and stuff, the older stuff that you looked at it and you're just like, yeah, it's all right. They've really stepped up their game in the last 5 years, and they're putting out some quality models. So yeah, there you go. $400. You can have a Tiamat all to yourself.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
It really, I mean, I totally agree with you. It looks fucking fantastic. Oh man. So let's jump over to Onyx Path because they had some pretty big news this week, and I thought this was pretty exciting for them. Although it might be exciting for everybody. So Onyx Path recently announced that the popular Scion tabletop RPG will be coming to the screen, according to a press release from Onyx Path. So the press release reads: Jenkins and Tate Entertainment announced development deal for a live-action TV series based on the Scion role-playing game by Onyx Path Publishing. Rich Thomas, founder and creative director of Onyx Path Publishing, in conjunction with Jenkins and Tate Entertainment, announced a new partnership today. Jenkins and Tate Entertainment will be developing a live-action TV series based on the Scion role-playing game by Onyx Path. We are truly excited to be developing this adventure series for television in collaboration with Onyx Path, said Brian Jenkins. We are looking forward to working closely with them in order to bring the world of Scion to life. Scion is a game about gods and humanity and everything in between. It is a game about mythic deeds and the reasons people talk about those mythic deeds. Its first edition was published in 2007, and it quickly gained an enthusiastic following, winning Annie's Game of the Year award. Now available in a new edition using the Onyx Path Story Path system, Scion's second edition offers a modern mythical setting to tell heroic tales. You know, you and I've talked about this game quite a bit. It seems like it always, in some way, comes up. And we've both stated that we are not players of this game. I'm kind of excited about this.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed the idea behind it. I think, and I think just the popularity of seeing some of the demigod type stuff out there, people have really enjoyed. I think of like the Percy Jackson type stuff. I know those were big for a lot of people growing up, and so having another avenue dealing with that. Also, look at some of the popularity of other things that have dealt with this kind of stuff. I think of Lucifer, just kind of that weird supernatural in the real world style show that people can't get enough of. So yeah, it's gonna be great. I like the idea behind it, and I want to. I think that's the big thing for me is kind of before you hop in on a game or whatever, or really get an idea before it. It's like seeing how it's air quotes supposed to be done, kind of interpretation of or the potential. I mean, get some lightning incarnate of some Zeus deity, deciding to blow up New York or something crazy. Like yeah, the destruction on a major scale looks pretty cool to me. So.
It really does. And honestly, I like the fact that we are able to we're living in a time period where, tabletop role-playing games are really obviously Critical Role really pushed Dungeons and Dragons, but we're seeing other games really come to fruition. And we know that comic books are incredibly popular with movies and TV series. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is incredible. I mean, I know the Falcon and Winter Soldier is out, and I guess the show is fantastic. I haven't watched any of it yet. I haven't watched WandaVision yet either. I need to get to it. So I think there is absolutely a market for this kind of stuff, and I think by expanding into television, this is. I hope that this works out. Obviously, they haven't. There's no updates about it. There's nothing that they've said about it. I know they have launched a website for it. I think it's sciontv.com. They are trying to write the script for the pilot. So it is very much at the beginning of the process. So this is probably years in the future. It's not going to be something that happens over the next year and a half or so. But I do think it's going to be really cool. And I know wasn't there a superhero television show? I can't remember, like Heroes or something like that, or Supernatural or something like that. Yeah, it
Both of
tells you
those
how
are
bad I am.
shows.
Oh, well, there you go. So I do think the popularity is there because I know those shows were incredibly popular. So I do think the desire is there. And if it can draw people into games, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Again, if it gets us excited about it, gives us a chance to play a game. I'm excited for it too. I know, and I think that's the big
Right.
thing too. Looking at a lot of things coming out, I've dabbled in Dota in the past, just enough to know that I'm terrible at the game. And Netflix put out a Dota anime, and I sat down and watched all of it, and in just a binge watch, type situation. So I think those
Sure.
those cross-platform things were like, I really like the lore and the story. It may not be the game for me, but I want to see more of that. I want to live more in the world. So I I hope it's good. I mean, it's scary because there's so many avenues of what it could be. You know, I think of like if it's CW type stuff, or if it goes to like to Netflix. You know, there's going to be a completely different level of what to expect. So I'll look forward to more information.
So will I. And I think about things like Altered Carbon going from a television show or from a book to a television show to an RPG, and we both said the RPG looks fantastic. I think about things like D&D going into the big screen, and we know that there's a D&D television series coming out, in the near future. Of course, there's the Lord of the Rings Silmarillion style television show coming out. So I'm excited. That means I hope they're all on streaming services because I don't have cable. That just more cool, interesting, fun shows to watch, and it would be neat to watch the Scion show and be intrigued enough to say, you know what, Nolan, let's give this game a shot.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. Is again, sometimes that cross-platform stuff works positive and negative. So I imagine again, you wouldn't sign up for it if you didn't have confidence in that it was going to do well. So
Right, and I know the game is incredibly popular. We do actually own the rule books. We do have the PDFs of them. We just never taken the time to take a look at them, and that's mostly because time. Every time we talk about this, we always say we need more time to play more games.
yeah, yep, play faster, right?
That's
As Arnold
according to
says.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Play faster. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, in other Onyx Paths news, I did get an email this week saying now is the time to lock in your shipping. I shouldn't say now is the time. It is now the final chance for you to lock in your shipping address for Cults of the Blood Gods, as it is ready to ship. This really made my day because this one has been delayed in shipping because of COVID. So it's nice to see that this is actually coming to fruition. And also, backers of Cults of the Blood Gods should have also received an email from Onyx Path saying that the digital download of the supplement Children of the Blood, this was a stretch goal unlocked during the Cults campaign, was ready for download. I did download it. I haven't taken a look at it. Now, I want to say, if this is like, if you just this was like your first time backing a V5 game from Onyx Path, going back to like the Chicago by Night Kickstarter and the products that came out of that, um, totally worth it. Onyx Path does a great job with these books, and the Chicago Folios, and I for some reason am drawing a blank on the other one. They are quality books. They do a fantastic job with these. I have not looked at the Children of Blood yet, but I guarantee you it's going to be a very dark, deep, fantastic book for vampires. So I am excited to flip through that. I will be ordering that one when it comes print on demand, because it's just cool. Also releasing for this week for Onyx Path, there was some stuff for Scarred Lands. This include the Yugman's Guide to Gelspad magical items, as well as the spell cards for Yugman's Guide to Gelspad. I think the magical items was like A through J or something like that. So it's just a small summary of the magical items that were released in the Yugman's Guide to Gelspad supplement. So if you want a quick reference guide, that is a great PDF to go and pick up and look through. And then there was also a PDF released for They Came From Beneath the Sea, called They Came From Outer Space, which adds new archetypes and tropes for your They Came From Beneath the Sea game. I wonder though if these They Came From releases that they've done will carry over to They Came From Beyond the Grave as well, if there will be some interaction between. I bet you there is.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be very cool. That's another game that I think we need to set up a one shot for, just so we can just get an experience playing it. Because I mean, we've both talked about it. We both think it sounds hilarious to play, and I think there is a quick start out for it. If so, I need to grab that and just grab four of us. Especially, I mean, we're getting so close to the point where we can play in person again. And I know you and I've talked about this. We are excited. I think at this point, but you got yours on Wednesday, right? Your second vaccine.
Yep.
And I think Zach was this week as well, or maybe it's next week. So we're like 2 to 3 weeks out from being able to play in person without masks, and just be able to enjoy each other's company again, which I'm so fucking thrilled about.
Time.
So it is. It absolutely is. All right, so that is everything from Onyx Path. I'm sure there's probably more. I know they have a Kickstarter going right now. I did not grab the information for it. It is a Trinity Kickstarter. I guarantee you it's funded. It seems like everything Onyx Path puts out gets funded rather quickly and does well. I just didn't grab it for today's show. I did want to jump to Modifius real quick, and this has got to be exciting news for fans of the game. the video game Fallout. Modifius has announced that pre-orders are live for the new Fallout tabletop RPG. Talking about shows coming to RPGs or RPGs going to shows. Now we have obviously video games coming to RPGs, and you and I've talked about video games going to RPGs before. I've never played Fallout. I know you're a big fan of it. I know my son's a big fan of it. Nolan, tell me why I should be excited about this.
Well, I think it's the time period of it of the okay. So the idea behind it is right. We get to a strange kind of start of the revolutionary, like a Civil War type era, a little more high tech. So we're kind of pushing into the very early generation of steampunk, where robots are assistants. We're starting to dabble into like some laser style plasma rifles. Just kind of very early, not that super high end cyberpunk. This is like ground zero. So the time period is 60s, 70s, at least in Fallout 4 it was. Just bring in robots, right? Bring in you know
Hold on. 1960s or the 2060s?
the I for as far as the thing is like people still wear like the balder hats, people still wear the suits to work, like the big caddy Lincoln cars just amped up to
Okay.
cyberpunk style. So that's the feel of the time period, right? The mom and pop, mom stays home, bakes the cookies, right? You see the old school style. That's the Leave It to Beaver time frame, right? That's the era. Bring in some robots, bring in some of that kind of stuff where we're on the verge of a technological boom. Nuclear holocaust happens. And so everybody goes into these fallout bunkers. So we're still dealing with very much that wartime period, right? That everybody was kind of, you were a day away from getting bombed. There's these fallout shelters, and that's what the idea behind Fallout was you go into one of these bunkers. The world gets eradicated, blah blah blah. Something random happens, something weird happens. Somebody snags you, drags you out of the vault. Somebody wakes you up out of cryo sleep, and you're on the surface now. And it's been 100 years, it's been 150 years, and it's a wasteland, but people have survived, and some of the water's still poisoned from radiation, and other people have, so like New Vegas, it's a hub, it's still there's gambling, but then there's weird rad rat creatures and monsters and all this kind of stuff. So it's very, I don't know, it's very super early to me, like kind of that cyberpunk origin story type situation. So uh, I don't know. Bring in the war stuff. Bring in that the World War II type mentality. Bring in Leave It to Beaver. So you'll cruise down a eradicated area or whatever, and in the town you will see kind of the white picket fence remnants and the perfect house and the beautiful Gosh, I feel like the refrigerators were always almost like the streamlined, submarine style type shit. That's the time period for it. So I think I don't know. It's a cool game. It should be a fun survival game. Usually you're kind of on your own trying to deal with these Roman marauders. Mad Max meets post-apocalyptic style game. So
Cool. Yeah. So I'd imagine this is going to be pretty popular. I'd imagine this is going to be those where you can sit down. Because that is Fallout a single player game?
they, for the most part, in this generation, the RPG has. They did do a like Fallout 76. That was a massive multiplayer style game, and I don't know how that
Okay.
ever went. This was never something I was interested in.
Gotcha. So this will be fun to be able to grab your friends who are fans of Fallout and sit down together and actually share in that experience. Um, it looks like the game will be using Modifius's 2D20 system. Now, I don't know if this is like Modifius's signature system, but I know it is very popular within their games. I know it's used for Star Trek Adventures, it's used for Conan, it's used for Octon Cthulhu, and many more. The core rulebook is clocking in at right around 400 pages, and it's going to cost about $53. Everything is in Great British pounds right now. It looks like they're expecting it to ship this summer. There are some bundles available, but they will have limited print run of these bundles, and they are quite a bit more expensive. You're going to talk, $200 to $250 for the bundles, and I'm not sure exactly what those will entail. I know I didn't get a chance to thoroughly look those over. I just saw this. And I thought, man, this is something we need to talk about. So there is a link in the show notes if you want to head over to Modiphius and check it out. I'd imagine this is going to be a fairly popular game. It's kind of like what they did with Dishonored, I'd imagine. It's definitely a group of people who are fairly excited about this. So that is all the news that I found. I did want to check in with you though, because I'd imagine we gotta be getting close. Have we heard anything about Tallis yet?
Have not.
Oh, that's frustrating.
I'm expecting just to get a thing that's saying, "Hey, it's shipped." Is probably the next.
Yeah, that's probably what you're gonna get. And I know, like, I've gotten stuff from Onyx Path where it's like, "Hey, it's shipped," and then like it was like the day after it arrived.
Yeah, and that was kind of the last update I got. As it was there, going to printer, getting ready to go. Expected in April.
Awesome. That means you should be seeing it fairly soon, which is cool because I think what we're going to do, and we've kind of talked about this, we have a Tuesday night group, and I think we're going to play through the Spiragos campaign for Scarred Lands and see how that goes, see where we're at with timing wise on Tolus. Now, the nice thing about Tolus is that it does use, in this case for us, the 5e system. We didn't get the Cypher system. And then we may look at, taking that group and dropping them into Tolus and see how that goes. So it's something you and I need to talk about and figure out what we want to do. But I think it'll be fun either way.
I sent you some pictures of in the podcast chat just so you can kind of see some of the art from the Fallout series. Yeah, I am looking forward to Tullis a lot. Actually, I'm ready to not necessarily. Yeah, I'm ready to see a new world that I don't know anything. Like seeing some monsters pop up, but it seems, I don't know. I feel like I watch a lot of anime still to this day that deals with that kind of stuff too. Like there's a big tower in the middle. Everybody lives in town and adventures, and it sounds like it could very easily be an MMO or like a Sword Art Online type situation where you're here and here's this tower and test your strength. Bring back the goods. That's what everybody does in this town. Let's see how far you can get. Maybe you're the one that gets to the top.
Right. And I think it's going to be cool. I'm really excited about it. Of course, Sean got us really excited about it when he was on the show talking about it. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you absolutely should. If you want to know what Tullis is and what it's all about, you should go check that out because it's going to be neat. And I know if you go to montycookgames.com, you can still order the book. I don't think they're still doing pre-orders for it, but they could be. I haven't checked the website in a while, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But we've got a few games now that we've coming in that it's going to be one of those where we have to extend the days to 27 hours instead of 24 just so we can squeeze in more time.
Yeah, we could probably not buy a game the rest of the year and be set. So
probably. You're probably absolutely right. I know we want to look at Candlekeep Mysteries, and I know we would like to try to work in some of that stuff. Yeah, dude, there's so much that we could do right. And I look at my Kickstarter list and all the things that I have coming in from Onyx Path and some of the independent companies, or not companies, but publishing groups that we've purchased from people that we've had on the show. Stuff that I've got coming in for Cult and other things. Of course, Lord of the Rings is supposed to be out this fall, with the PDFs coming this summer. So, and I know that's going to be another one that's probably going to grab you and I pretty hard and force us. It's just going to grab us by the face and make us read the book.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just combing through the pages and seeing it.
Me too. That is all the news that I have for this week. Am I missing something? Is there something that you saw that I didn't that we need to talk about?
I didn't. It was kind of where I got to as well. Like I said, a lot of my stuff was just getting ready for the new season of Diablo and playing some Magic, and yeah, that's about it. I guess it's Easter. We can go be with our family and had some eggs.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about that anymore. So.
Must be nice.
No kidding. Yeah, that was, I don't know, it's whatever. Happy Easter if you celebrate it. It's not something I really worry about, but that's okay. Well, that is it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week with a new show and a different topic. We'll have to figure out what we're going to talk about.
As I say, I was on Reddit the other day, and as I am most days, but I was looking through the D&D stuff, and one of the questions that was asked to the group was, what class, subclass at this point in the game do you feel is missing from character creation in 5e? And so it was this big long post and it got me thinking about that stuff. And then the caveat is without multi-classing, can you do these builds? And so one of the things I was like, well, that would be a fun topic for a week to try and come up with some stuff that's maybe missing and maybe not thinking about. One of the cool things on it, and it was one of the ones that I'd never really thought of, and I'll leave it with the parting thought is every sorcerer pact and every sorcerer origin and every pact warlock should be interchangeable. If dragon blood is strong enough to make sorcerers, they should be able to make pacts with warlocks. And I want to be a pact dragon warlock. Or, we can see the shadow stuff. A great old one sorcerer where your blood is that of the old gods. So anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing of I know that they synergize really well from a player standpoint because they both use charisma and they both are casters. But just from an origin story style situation, you could replace both of those super easy and have a lot of fun with it.
Well, how about this? So I think that'll be our topic for next week. And I would like to, as long as you're okay with it, grab our friend Zach Smiley, because you and him, I know, bounce topics like this off each other all the time. Let's see if he wants to come on the show and he can nerd out with us for a while on it as well.
That'd be cool.
Cool. I'll reach out to Zach and see what he says. Well, that is going to be our show for this week, folks. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week.
Bye.